Still visiting his dad?
Uh-huh. They're trying to work out this business deal. So, while he's in Boston, I thought I'd have my teeth looked at.
Well, you were smart to change your mind.
Change my mind?
Well, sure. Why send them to Boston when you can have the dentist here look at them?
Yeah. Anyway, I sure miss Harry.
Yeah, but you'd miss your teeth worse.
I'm not having any work done. I'm going to have Dr. Cronin clean my teeth and just look them over.
Why are you whispering? Well, doesn't he know people have their teeth cleaned?
I just didn't want to disturb him. So I always go to a dentist 3 times a year, whether I need it or not.
Well, you know, my sister Bessie goes to her eye doctor 4 or 5 times a year, and she doesn't need it at all.
Well, why does she go?
Well, so she can memorize that eye chart. And then at parties, she recites it, and that way, people think she has wonderful eyesight. Blanche, stop brushing your dress. It annoys that man over there.
Goodbye, Miss Vanderlip. I'll see you again next Friday. Now, Mrs. Morton, you're next.
Oh, thank you, Doctor. I won't be long, honey. Bye, Lucille.
Goodbye. I'll see you soon, Blanche.
Oh, Gracie, that Dr. Cronin is the cutest dentist.
Oh, he certainly is. Maybe I could see him. Do my teeth look like they hurt?
Oh, Gracie. Call me. We'll have lunch.
All right. My name is Mrs. Burns, Mrs. George Burns. Pardon me for asking, but what's your name?
Why?
Well, I don't talk to strangers, and I'd like to ask you the time.
It's 12 o'clock.
Oh, it's the same as your name, almost. What a coincidence. Doesn't it make you nervous to sit and wait for the dentist? It does me. Isn't it awful when they put that drill in your mouth and go bzzz? Oh, pardon me for asking, but are you here to see the dentist about your cough?
No. No, I'm here to see him about an ingrown toenail.
Oh, well, I don't think Dr. Cronin's arm is long enough to reach way down there and pull it. Oh, wait a minute. I have an idea. Why don't you take your shoe off, and then you can pull it from the other end.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh, he left his hat. Well, I'll take it home and save it for him. Mr. Noon has ingrown toenail, plays peekaboo.
Well, Mr. Vanderlip, does that straighten out all of Gracie's checks?
Yes, thanks. My tellers at the bank will be able to sleep again tonight.
Oh, good.
Oh, incidentally, George, I've had to work late at the bank for the past 5 nights, and Lucille has been very nice about it. I thought maybe you could give me some advice.
Well, if you've been getting away with that, you can give me some advice.
No, I mean, I've been thinking of giving her some little intimate gift. What do you think of a couple of shares of good railroad stock or some petroleum stock?
Oh, too intimate. Look, Chester, why don't you get her a nice, dainty negligee?
Say, that's a good idea. But I'd be embarrassed going into a store and asking a salesgirl for anything like that.
Well, look, Chester, upstairs in my den, in the desk, there's a card that says Mary Delaney Shopping Service. You call her. I always do, and I want to surprise Gracie.
Oh, thanks, George.
Bye,
Oh, I better phone Mr. Myers and order some meat for dinner. Oh.
I'm so glad you called. And you want me to buy a negligee, Mr. Vanderlip?
Yes.
How about a nice sheer one?
That sounds attractive, Miss Delaney. If that's your preference, by all means, get one.
Well, I'll go right over to Bullock's and charge it to your account.
Oh, yes, of course. And when will I see you?
Well, just as soon as I buy the negligee.
Well, imagine Mr. Vanderlip buying a negligee for a Miss Delaney and sneaking up to our den to phone her. Oh, Lucille ought to shoot him. Men are so deceitful. They look you right in the face while they're doing things behind your back.
How do you like Mr. Vanderlip, the banker? He was too bashful to buy a negligee for his wife. I'm really not surprised. He's got a bird bath in his backyard with a shower curtain around it. In case a female bird takes a bath. I should be the last one to talk. It was a month after we were married before I had courage enough to show Gracie where I was vaccinated. On the Lower East Side in New York City. Of course, there are all kinds of weaknesses. A friend of mine, a bachelor, a big, strong fella, he's afraid of thunder. Every time he hears thunder, he runs into a closet and hides. In fact, that's why he's in the hospital right now. One rainy day last week, he was visiting this lady, and it started to thunder. He ran into the closet and hid, and her husband came home. The husband opened the closet door and hung a wet raincoat on him, and he caught pneumonia. Even great men have weaknesses. I read about a famous scientist who was decorated by 12 foreign countries for being the first man to split an atom with one hand. He had to split it with one hand. He had 4 stitches in the other one trying to open a can of sardines for his wife. And I know one man who couldn't tell the truth. Went to a psychiatrist to try to get cured of this weakness. But he was such a liar, he wouldn't tell the psychiatrist what was wrong with him. He ended up being cured of something he never had. Speaking of lying, do you know the difference between fibbing and lying? A fibber is what a woman calls a liar before she marries him. But the average man's greatest weakness is not believing what he sees. He sees a sign saying wet paint, he touches it to make sure. He sees a pretty girl wearing a wedding ring, well, there's a lot of weaknesses.
Mr. Vanderlip and another woman. I can't believe it.
Neither can I.
And I feel responsible because he used our phone. Oh, Blanche, we've got to do something to get Lucille and her husband together.
How about that snake in the grass? Oh, I'll bet if he thought another man were interested in Lucille, he'd come running back.
He would?
Oh, yeah, that never fails. I remember when I was in college, this Professor Bundy got the idea that his wife was interested in another man. So he pretended to be interested in another woman, and he got her back.
Really?
Yeah. It was easy to see why the professor was jealous, too. Mrs. Bundy was quite a woman. I've seen beautiful women, clever women, sweet women. She was all of them rolled into one.
Oh, a fat woman.
She should have gone on a diet.
Yeah.
No. I mean it. She was really beautiful. And he was a timid little fellow, about 5 feet tall, and so nearsighted he could hardly see where he was going. He wore big, thick glasses and a little goatee on his chin.
Oh, well, no wonder he couldn't see where he was going. He should have worn the glasses on his nose.
Nancy, if you want me to help you, you have to stop helping me.
Oh, thanks, Harry, but it's no trouble.
It was very easy for Gracie.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, at this college prom one night, I was sitting there with this beautiful girl, and just to make his wife jealous, Bundy came over and asked for a dance.
Why didn't he ask the girl for a dance?
He did ask the girl.
Oh. Well, if he asked her and he danced with you, his eyes must be really bad.
He He should have gone with Gracie's sister Bessie to learn to recite the eye chart.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he didn't. We were sitting there, and he let me go back to the. Let me go back and phone Bessie. I don't know what this is about.
You know, sometimes he doesn't make any sense.
No, honey. What he was trying to tell you is this. If Mr. Vanderlip thought another man was interested in Lucille, he'd get jealous and her problems would be over.
Oh, well, then somebody ought to tell Mr. Vanderlip that another man is interested in Lucille.
No, Gracie, I
don't worry, I'll be subtle.
No, but honey,
More trouble with your account, Gracie?
Well, no, this is personal, and I've come to you because I have a lot of respect for you.
Oh, thank you.
And I need a little advice.
Well, I hope I can help.
Well, now, you know this tall, handsome dentist, Dr. Cronin?
No, but I've heard my wife, Lucille, mention him.
Well, naturally, because he's in love with her. Anyway, her marriage might break up.
In love with her?
Yes, of course it may not be important to you, but it is to me because Lucille and I are very good friends.
This dentist is in love with Lucille?
Yes, well, it's very nice of you to be interested in my problems. But maybe you can help me bring her to her senses.
Oh, Gracie, you can't be serious.
Oh, well, Mr. Vanderlip, please. I've got to stop Lucille. If this cute dentist keeps running after her, it might turn her head, and that would worry me.
Worry you?
Well, yes, you've got to help me get her away from this tall, affectionate, painless dentist. Of course, her husband may be a little broken down. They've been married for years.
A little broken down?
The only reason I'm telling you this is because you're not a blabbermouth.
Blabbermouth?
Well, sure. I know you won't gossip about this love affair to the neighbors.
Gracie, I don't know why you're telling me all this, because I don't believe a word you said.
You don't?
Not a word.
Not even the part where I said I have a lot of respect for you?
Well, yes, that I believe.
Oh, well, you picked out the one part that wasn't true. Oh, there you are, George. Something terrible has happened, and I need your help.
Uncle Harvey has to be bailed out again?
Well, that can wait. This is more important.
Oh, what happened?
Well, this is about poor Lucille Vanderlip. You know, she's unhappy and she has a lot of heartaches, and we have to help her before she finds out about them.
Oh, she hasn't found out about it yet.
She doesn't even know Mr. Vanderlip is running around with another woman.
Chester Vanderlip?
Only this morning, he was talking on our phone to a Miss Delaney, and I was listening.
Gracie, wasn't that sneaky?
Well, it certainly was. Imagine a married man buying another woman a negligee.
Well, I'm glad you told me about this. Now I can get it all straightened out. You see, Chester Vanderlip worked late for 5 nights in a row, and Lucille was so nice about it that he wanted to buy her a present, so he told this girl to buy Lucille a very nice gift. And naturally, he wanted to keep it a secret because he wanted to surprise her. What's the matter?
Oh, I knew you'd stick together. You men are all alike.
Gracie, Mary Delaney runs the shopping service. Here's her card.
Well, what difference does that make? If a man like Mr. Vanderlip is running around with another woman, it doesn't make any difference what she does.
Well, if you don't believe me, why don't you call her? Then you'll understand.
Oh, I understand. The reason you're defending him is because he's a man, and all men are beasts. Male beasts, I mean.
Look.
Oh, I should have known better. My mother warned me, but I just couldn't believe that you turned out to be a man.
Nobody's perfect. I'll see you later.
George?
What was that for?
Just in case you think up any more excuses.
Beverly Hills Shopping Center. Mary Delaney speaking.
Oh, this is Mrs. George Burns of Maple Drive. Are you the Miss Delaney who was talking to Mr. Vanderlip this morning?
Chester Vanderlip. Oh, yes.
Well, know your boyfriend, and you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
What? What's the matter with my boyfriend?
He's a married man, that's all.
Wait. He's never told me he was married. Are you sure?
Of course. His wife is a good friend of mine.
Well, thanks for calling.
Hello, George.
Hello, Lucille. Chester, I thought I'd better come over and tell you what's happening. Gracie heard you order that negligee for Lucille.
A negligee for me? Oh, Chester, why didn't you tell me?
It was supposed to be a surprise. Well, what's the problem, George?
Well, Gracie thinks you bought it for the girl you were talking to on the telephone.
Well, that's preposterous. Couldn't you straighten her out?
I tried to do 3 ha's, but the ha she had left over was too much for me.
Ah, she had left over?
Yeah.
Where is the negligee, Chester?
It's in the top drawer.
Oh.
Only Gracie could make a mistake like that.
Well, I got a little work to do, so I'll run along. Goodbye, Chester.
George.
Yeah.
George, if you don't mind, there's something I've always wanted to ask you.
Because I happen to love her, that's why.
Oh, Chester, it's beautiful.
Lucille, George is here.
Oh, don't mind me. I've been boating for years. Goodbye, Lucille.
Goodbye.
Bye, Chester.
Goodbye, George.
Oh, Chester, thanks.
I'm glad you like it.
Pardon me, are you Mrs. Burns?
Yes,
The Mrs. Burns who spoke to Mary Delaney on the phone?
yes, I called her. Why?
Well, my name is Charlie Banks. I'm Mary's boyfriend. In fact, I was engaged to her until you told her I was married.
Well, I didn't mean you. I don't even know you. But I certainly can't understand how she could pass up a nice young man like you for that sneaky Mr. Vanderlip. Her eyesight must be even worse than Professor Bundy's.
Vanderlip?
Yeah, he lives over there in that White House.
Well, I'm going over to see him.
And Gracie said no.
Come in.
Oh, Chester, I wouldn't change you for anything.
Neither would I, Lucille.
Are you Mr. Vanderlip?
Yes, I am. Do I know you?
You don't have to know me. I just want to tell you to stay away from my girl.
Your girl? This is my wife.
Don't try innocence, you old gray. I'm talking about Mary Delaney. And if you ever see Mary again, I'll rip your hide off.
So, you've been working at the bank the last 5 nights. No wonder you wanted to buy me a negligee.
Lucille, I give you my word I've done nothing wrong. Mary Delaney runs a shopping service. It was from her I bought this negligee.
Ha!
Now I know what George meant.
Gracie, I'd like to talk to you.
Oh, all right.
The Vanderlip's marriage is pretty near wrecked because a certain person who didn't know what she was doing kept butting in.
Yes, that Mary Delaney. Wouldn't you think she'd know better?
The Vanderlips are having a problem.
I know, and I've been working on it all day. You see, my mother taught me you're supposed to help friends when they're in trouble. And it's a good thing she did because practically everybody I've been a friend to has been in trouble.
Well, not only that, but they never could have gotten there without you.
Oh, thank you, George.
You're welcome.
But friends aren't the only ones I help. I help plenty of strangers, too. Now, look at this Miss Murgatroyd. She's not only a stranger, she's from Salt Lake City.
And you helped her.
Oh, yes. She came up to me in the street and asked me if I could tell her how to get to St. Vincent's Hospital. So I said, oh, well, there are all kinds of ways to get there. You can go in a taxi or a bus or walk. Of course, the quickest way is to step in front of a truck and the hospital will send an ambulance for you.
Not only the quickest, but the cheapest.
It took me a while to get Miss Murgatroyd straightened out, but I finally found out her sister was in the hospital because she'd had some guests for dinner the night before, and when she went to take Sandy McNabb's plate away, he bit her.
Sandy McNabb?
Well, yeah, the Scotch Terrier.
Oh, she should have people for dinner instead of dogs.
Well, she didn't have either. She had a leg lamb.
Yeah, Yeah, well, they're always good company.
Well, anyway, she took the dog to the veterinarian to see if he had rabies. So I said, oh, that's a very dangerous thing to do because if he has rabies, he might bite the dog.
Yeah, the dog might bite the leg of lamb, and lamb goes better with green peas.
George, you're confusing me.
So Gracie, overhearing this phone call started the whole thing.
I'll say this, it's been a most interesting day.
And Lucille, I hope you've learned a lesson.
Well, there was no harm done. Oh, that's right. Gracie always means well. She was only trying to help.
And Mary, the negligee you picked out for me is beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, honey, want your engagement ring back?
Do I?
Well, they're engaged again.
Oh.
Congratulations. Well, Gracie, everybody is happy again.
Oh?
Yes, Mrs. Burns. I'm giving up Mr. Vanderlip and going back to Charles.
And I'm giving up Mary and going back to Lucille again.
Isn't that wonderful?
Oh, it certainly is, and it was worth all the trouble I went to.
Sure.
I'm glad I don't have to straighten out people every day.
Come in.
Well, on top of their problems, I had Mrs. Murgatroyd and her sister, and don't forget Sandy McNabb.
Sandy McNabb?
Yeah, well, he's the one who bit Mrs. Murgatroyd's sister instead of the leg of lamb. Would you like to have Gracie explain that to you?
No, I'll wait till Harry gets back from Boston. I want him to hear it, too.
All right.
Mrs. Burns? Oh, Dr. Cronin said you probably had my hat.
Oh, Mr. Noon. Mr. Noon, everybody.
It isn't really noon.
Tell me, how's your ingrown toenail?
Fine, and forget about the hat.
I thank you.
Appearing on tonight's show were Grandin Rhodes as Mr. Vanderlip, Sarah Selby as Mrs. Vanderlip, Mary Ellen Kay as Mary Delaney, Joel Marston as Charles Banks, Herb Vigran as the man in the dentist's office, and Richard Deems as Dr. Cronin.